Terence Bud Crawford moving on from the Errol Spence Jr. fight. This is something I'm going to cover. I'm not going to take too much time, but I wanted to give my thoughts on this because this is a conversation that came up earlier today under another video that I did when I was breaking down some comments, and there was a general feel that individuals feel as though it's time for Bud Crawford to move on from the negotiations from Errol Spence Jr. for various reasons, but we will cover that in this video. This is your boy JG. This is the Punch Report. Let's go. This is your boy JG. If you haven't done so already, please be so kind. Like, subscribe, bell icon for notification. Let's get into it right now. Now, there's been so many things floating around out there, circulating around out there concerning Bud Crawford and the truth, Errol Spence Jr. and that impending potential 147-pound tilt. That bout was scheduled for November 19th. We don't know if we're going to get it now at this point. There's a lot of back and forth going on concerning who's at fault and money and things of this nature. So I wanted to take a moment and just kind of share my thoughts, even though nobody asked, but I'm going to share my thoughts on this because I want to put a different perspective on this deal. You see the title of the video, and really it's about Bud Crawford. This video is specifically about Terence Bud Crawford, and if I were operating in his position, his perspective. I'm going to be really super honest. I don't venture onto Twitter very often. I'm not in the negotiations with Bud Crawford or his team or Errol Spence and his team, so I do not have intimate details or knowledge of anything that's going on behind the scenes. Depending on where you go and get your information on YouTube, a lot of individuals claim to know things that they probably don't have legitimate access to from an information standpoint. I'm not going to play that game or pretend that I know something more than an attorney, a lawyer, an advisor, an individual who's really operating behind the scenes, negotiating, trying to get this deal done. But what I would say is this, as I address this theme that I kind of picked up on earlier today, is that somehow or another, the business dealings of Al Heyman and Errol Spence Jr. are the thing that are inhibiting this fight from getting done. I don't know shit about that. I'm not in there. But for all intents and purposes, I am going to operate in a space as if I was Terence Bud Crawford. So as far as I can tell, Terence Crawford, it seems to be pretty fiscally responsible, not super flashy, not out here blowing dough, acting reckless, none of that stuff, you know. Family man, father, obviously, from what I can tell, a loving father, supports his children and pushes them towards their athletic endeavors. So you can't be mad at that at all whatsoever. With that being said, I imagine Terence Crawford is financially set for the most part. He probably doesn't need to fight again. But he's a true champion. He's a warrior. And above all else things, you know, outside of the ring, he is a competitor, a vicious, ferocious competitor. Anybody who would suggest something different than that, you should probably not discuss boxing with him any longer. We know that in the past that Bud Crawford has made some questionable decisions from a business standpoint, whether it's financially, aligning himself with Bob Arum, which I think definitely hurt him in the long run, or having his name associated with a guy like a Kinahan who's, you know, wanted by the feds and those types of things. Those things don't help your brand as you try to navigate the waters of providing security for your family as you approach the end of your career. Speaking of the end of his career, Bud Crawford has been on record. It's not made up, not hyperbole or a conjecture. He has stated, I don't want to fight late into my 30s. I'm not interested in that. I want to get paid now. I want to fight in big fights, and I want to do my thing. I'm not interested in fighting forever. And I think I can respect that and appreciate that, because who the hell wants to do that? You think about a guy like an Andre Ward, made his money. He walked away from the sport undefeated at 32 years of age, I believe. So there's an example of individuals prioritizing themselves and their families over fighting into your 40s. Anyway, I digress. So like I said, Bud Crawford, fiscally responsible, family man. He does his thing, but he's at a turning point right now, a crossroads, so to speak. And here's what I would do, put simply. And I put some of this in a comment of a video they did earlier, responding to some individuals. Shout out to Brendan McDonald. Here's what I would do. I'm pretty much set in my legacy. Do I want this fight against Errol Spence Jr.? Absolutely. I want to be the 147-pound king, undisputed in 2 divisions, and really ascend upon the boxing mountain of guys who've really done this at the highest of levels. That's absolutely and exactly what I want. I might not be provided that opportunity as this thing draws down long enough. So now what am I going to do? Here's what I would do if I was Bud Crawford. Two options. I fight Errol Spence Jr. with that shitty deal. And I go out there and I either beat the shit out of Errol Spence or I lose in a fight that's so damn compelling that everyone's going to want to see that again. Essentially, I'm going to be betting on myself. And you might be saying, that sounds like a dumbass plan. That's stupid. He's selling himself short. He's already in this position. He's already in a position where he's either going to take a short money deal or a deal that's not favorable to him, or he considers to be favorable. I won't be using terminology like slave deals. I think that shit getting tossed around is absolutely reckless and irresponsible. I will not be participating in that nonsense whatsoever. A deal that he does not find to be favorable, sign it, say, okay, cool, destroy Errol, or just participate in one of the greatest fights all time in history. After that happens, regardless of the outcome, unless you get slept, right? If you just get destroyed, that's a little bit different. I do not see that happening. Regardless of the outcome in that particular bout, Errol Spence Bud Crawford, yesterday's price is not today's price. That is over. You then, at that point, independent, you're operating independently, you're not with Top Rank Bob Arum anymore. I don't even know who's representing you at this point. But at that point, you get to ask for things, $10 million, $15 million, $18 million, based on the work that you just put in. Because at the end of the day, sometimes, or most times, you get paid for what you've done, not for what you were about to do. Like a resume for a job. I've used that analogy before. They review your resume and they go, damn, you have a lot of experience. You really have been around the block. You've grown teams, yada, yada, yada. Here's your $150,000 a year. Then you go in there and you do your thing. I'm essentially saying one of the options for a Bud Crawford is to go in here, bet on yourself, look at the deal. Okay, cool. I don't like this deal. I'm about to beat the shit out of Errol Spence, and then I'm going to get paid, hand over fist, and I run the show. I don't want to hear nothing else because I just put in work. Even if the fight is compelling and a loss, the fight is bigger next time around. There's way more anticipation, and it creates that much more buzz around the fight. Now, if that's not going to be a plan or an option that he's willing to execute on, totally fine. I get that. His body, his money, his future, his security, his family, those things are very important. I'm never going to be mad at a fighter who says, I need to secure the bag, and I'm not playing any games. I'm not fighting forever, and I don't want to put myself in a position to get hurt or damaged and then really screw up my earning potential down the road. Now, the other thing we know about Bud Crawford is he has stated, win, lose, or draw, regardless of outcomes, he would like to go up to 154 pounds. There's some fights there, some very winnable fights, some very makeable fights. I don't like the idea of Bud Crawford at 54, not because he's not good. I think that he's still growing into 47. Errol's a big 47 guy. 54 is a whole nother beast. There's dudes up there who are probably walking around at 180 pounds, maybe more, at 185 pounds, walking around and fit in shape, coming down to 154 and then punching the shit out of each other. So I'm not a super big fan of the idea of Bud Crawford going to 54, but he's expressed that idea. Then you essentially take that same framework and game plan that I've laid out, go up to 54, fight one of these guys, a name-known guy. It doesn't even have to be a Charlo. Destroy them. Punish them viciously. Continue to be fiscally responsible and make it undeniable where no one can say anything to you. Because the unfortunate reality that you are currently in, if you're a Bud Crawford, is, yes, Errol's more name-known. He's had a stronger marketing team behind him. He's generated more revenue. He's done more pay-per-views. He's had better success on pay-per-views. None of this is to be debated. It's what it is. But if Terence Bud Crawford is the best pound-for-pound fighter on the planet Earth, it's time for him to go out there, destroy some people, maybe under a one-fight, super not, likable deal, and then make it so no one can deny him at all whatsoever moving forward. Because the question that I asked earlier is, let's say he dips out and says, you know what, I'm cool, Errol. Al Hammond, you guys are putting up too many roadblocks. I can't do this. If that's what you believe to be happening. What's the next financial stop that Bud Crawford can make that will be as lucrative or more lucrative than where he's currently at? That's not to say he needs to cap himself, but what's the next option? A lot of the people from 147 to 154 operate under the PBC side. DAZN said like 5 or 6 months ago, maybe longer ago, we would love to have a Bud Crawford on our roster. We don't have any fights for him. We don't have any welterweights, and we can't pay him. So what's next? Where does he go next where he can say, at a minimum, I want 8.5 to 10 million, and they go, cool, got it, and we got fights for you. That's the question you have to answer. Because if this is about money and not fights and legacies, then he's going to run into some real issues. The boxing world is essentially asking Terence Crawford to show us your worth. Am I saying that's right or wrong? Nope, I'm not even speaking on that. But that's what he's being asked to do. He's already established, 34, 35 years of age. He's accomplished a lot in the sport of boxing in 38 fights, 29 knockouts. We know the stats. He's done his part. At this point, if it's about money for Bud Crawford, he's got to do something spectacular and different. Those top-ranked years were a setback financially and not financially, from a marketability perspective. Top-ranked years were a setback. So now he's got to figure out a way to demand the money to where cats say, do you see what Bud Crawford just did to somebody? He just destroyed this dude. Open the pocketbook. We know the marketability is there. Pay-per-views are going to sell crazy. He's doing his thing now as an independent contractor and a fighter and a supporter of his family. Give him his damn money. Those are my thoughts on that. This is your boy, JG. This is the Punch Report. Please be so kind. Like, subscribe, bell icon for notification. Let me know what you guys want to see and get covered on this channel. I try to keep it as chill as possible. Give you guys some information, some fight breakdowns. And every now and then I'll give you my opinion. But this is your boy, JG. We out.